Okay, hello everybody. Um, my name is Spaceman Split. I'm a little bit tipsy right now. I'm just drinking my apple juice. It's very tasty. But I wanted to... Well, I haven't done a video in a couple days, so I figured I would. And I wanted to tell a story today. So there's not going to be any exciting Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I know, don't get your hopes up too high. But I wanted to tell a story from a few years ago. I have a bunch of random stories that I wanted to just put up here, so if somebody ever asks me about it, I can always just say, hey, check out youtube.com/capital UWR3ZX lowercase j capital L 69, and they can just go there instead of having to actually discuss with me, because I get so tired of telling these stories. I think I've told this story on stream probably once or twice before, but now I can put it out there so it's for full disclosure. I'll do my best to tell it properly. So, the story I wanted to tell tonight, I have a bunch of random stories, but the one I wanted to tell tonight was related to a time that I almost failed an astrophysics final exam because I almost missed it. In my first or second, I think second year of undergrad, there was a big concert. So I was doing my undergrad in Victoria. There was a big concert taking place in Seattle, which is probably like you have to take a ferry and then you have to drive a couple of hours to go south to Seattle. But there was a massive concert that my friend and I wanted to go to called Jingle Bell Bash. And I think this was probably in like 2013, maybe 2012, 2013. And it had a bunch of, like, I was super into pop punk at the time, and it had a bunch of the pop punk bands that I really liked. So there was like, I mean, who was even playing? I mean, Paramore was there. There was the Ready Set. There was a bunch of these like bands, and then my favorite band that they were my favorite band for a couple of years, but I'd never seen them before, was All Time Low. I was super duper into them. They were kind of in between some what I would refer to as my favorite albums by them, and so I was really excited to see them for the first time. So I went, and it was really exciting. But it was okay. So first of all, we were driving from Vancouver down to Seattle, and we were in my friend's car, and we were waiting in line at the border because sometimes the border crossing takes a few hours or whatever. And in this particular instance, the border crossing was like 20 minutes. So when we were waiting, we just turned off the car, but we were still listening to music. And then it was our time to move forward in the line, and the car would not move forward anymore. So in that instance, what ended up happening was the battery died in the car. We actually couldn't even turn it back on. So we literally pushed his shitty ass car across the border from Vancouver to Washington State. And let me tell you, it was kind of funny because like when you cross the border, there's like these cameras that take pictures of, it's like angled so that it takes pictures of everybody in the car. But in our aspect, there was nobody in the car because it was completely abandoned, because both him and I were like pushing it from both of the doors. And let me tell you, we got asked a lot of hard questions at that border crossing because we were pretty much just bringing some piece of shit car into the U.S. and they were afraid we were going to get stranded. And after we were done, it took us another like hour to find somebody else who was in the secondary screening process to give us a jump for our car to keep going. But eventually we did get it, thankfully. So we go down to the States. We get to our hotel or whatever. I think we're staying at a hotel. We get prepared for Jingle Bell Bash. This is around Christmas. So this must have been first semester of my second year. And I was really excited because this was, so as I said before, All Time Low had been like my favorite band for a few years. I'd never seen them before. And so I went to the show, and like a lot of these pop punk bands, it was pretty much like me, my friend, I guess my friend and I, a couple other people came with us. But the proportion of people in the audience was like 20% dudes and like 80% like screaming, rabid women fans, because, these were, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it wasn't girly music, but like the main audience appeal was women. I didn't mind. I had a pretty good time, and so this was a massive festival. Well, it wasn't a massive festival, but there was like 8 or 9 bands that were playing. They each had kind of short sets, like 40 minutes each, I think, 30 minutes each. And so I watched a bunch of bands play, and I had a good time. Getting to know the people in the crowd. Some of the women there were very friendly, which, as a young person myself, was a little unsure how to react in that situation. And then All Time Low came on, and they played their set, and it was amazing. It was everything I ever could have pictured. It was great. I had an amazing time. And I had this thing at the time where every single concert that I went to, I would crowd surf. It was just like a thing that I really liked doing. I was probably a little lighter than I am now. And so I knew that they were on their second last song. It was my favorite song, and I wanted to go up. So I got some people around me to like hoist me up in the sky, and I crowd surfed all the way to the front. But before I went up, I don't know what was wrong with me. I wasn't drunk. I don't do drugs, so I wasn't on any drugs. And I ripped my shirt off in an act of defiance and was waving it around my head. And so as I was crowd surfing to the front of the crowd, I guess, I was just like topless, just like swinging my shirt around. I was having a great time. I remember really liking the shirt, and I went over. So what happens when you get to the front is you kind of go over the barricade, and the security guards catch you. But as I was going over, I kind of like chucked my shirt on stage, and the guitarist like didn't catch it, but he like picked it up and like put it on his mic stand. And I was walking by like in front of him. He like looked down at me, gave me a thumbs up, and I was like, "Well, this is the best day of my life." Like I got acknowledged by essentially my favorite band, by Jack Bearcat of All Time Low. So I was feeling great. I went around the back, and I sat there, kind of at the back of the crowd because I wasn't gonna push up through the center again. And the people, they were having a good time, and the lead singer jumped into the crowd at the very end of his last song. And as he jumped into the crowd, he got his shirt ripped off him. And I don't blame him. There's like a ton of girls there who just obviously were just in it for the booty. And so, he finished the song, he went back on stage, they said goodnight, and I was ecstatic. I was great. That was an amazing night. So there were still a couple more bands to play, but I had been in the crowd for like 6 bands at this point, so I was exhausted. So I left kind of like the main area where the bands were playing, and outside of this main curtain there was like water fountains and bathrooms and stuff. And I went all the way out there and grabbed a drink of water because I was really thirsty. Got to stay hydrated at stuff like this. And as I was walking back to the area where the bands were playing, these 2 girls came up to me, and they were acting all flustered. I was a little bit confused. They acted all flustered, and they said, oh my god, like, can I get your autograph? I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, okay. I was still kind of riding that high of being thumbs upped by the guitarist of All Time Low. And so I was like, okay, sure. I don't have a Sharpie or anything. Do you have anything? And this one girl gave me a Sharpie. And she wanted me to sign, I think, her ticket. And the other girl wanted me to sign, I don't remember what it was, like her shoe or something like that. It was weird. And so I'm like talking to these girls for a moment. I sign the ticket and the shoe, and they leave me on my way. And I look up, and in the time it took me to sign these 2 autographs, I looked up, and I am literally surrounded by women. I'm talking like my back was against a pillar, and I was surrounded by like fucking like, I want to say like 6 or 7 women deep in every direction in front of me. And they were all trying to approach me. I'm standing there with no shirt on and a Sharpie in my hand. And each of them comes up to me one at a time and asks me to like sign random shit. So I signed all kinds of stuff. I signed like shirts, I signed stomachs, I signed arms, I signed shoes, tickets, I signed, some people had autograph books, which was very prepared of them. I signed so much stuff. I think I signed about 100 autographs. And I also took selfies with like 50 of these women probably. It was nuts. And it honestly took me about 40 or 45 signatures to realize in my head, like, holy shit, These people think that I'm the lead singer of All Time Low. They think that I'm Alex Gaskarth because I'm not wearing a shirt, and he's not. He got his shirt ripped off him when he jumped into the crowd to finish the song. And so these people don't think like, oh, that's that hero that was crowd surfing at the end. They actually think that I'm like the lead singer, and I didn't look anything like him. Especially at the time, I had a lip piercing. He didn't have a lip piercing. It was just weird. So honestly, I didn't feel that bad because I was like, how good of a fan can you really be if you think that I'm the lead singer of this band? But I had no shame. I signed these autographs. I took pictures with like 50 or 60 of these girls. And finally, when they left me alone, these two people came up to me. They were like, yo, dude, you know, like, they think you're the lead singer of this band, right? And I looked at them, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I know they know. I know that that's what they're thinking. But at that point, you know, you're in way too deep. I can't just stop in the middle and be like, well, I'm not the lead singer of All Time Low. You know that, right? So obviously I didn't do that. I just continued signing autographs. And I signed my own name. I didn't sign the lead singer's name, so I just wish that I was there like the next day when these girls showed up to school with selfies with me or autographed like shit that I had signed, and they're like, well, that's not Alex Gaskarth. That's not his signature. That's somebody else. But they'll never know because as soon as I was done with that show, we drove back to Canada like that night. So I never had to suffer any of that fallout. But yeah, so there was a time that I was mistaken for the lead singer of All Time Low, and it was pretty hilarious. If I ever get the opportunity to meet All Time Low or Alex Gaskarth, I mean, I would love to tell this story because I think it would be hilarious. But that opportunity is probably never going to happen. But yeah, so I just wanted to tell a story while I'm a little bit tipsy right now. I'll be telling more stories in the future. I know this has been a long one, but I hope you enjoyed. So, good night and happy weekend, my friends.